Migration is going to be a team sport. There's 6 steps that we see happening. First is discovery of your crypto assets. And DigiCert offers a solution called Trust Lifecycle Manager that does that.
DigiCert is widely recognized for its expertise in PKI and as a TLS certificate authority. As you can imagine, they have a lot to say about the migration to PQC. We cover everything from the challenges of upgrading IoT devices to ML-DSA signature sizes, as well as a new platform the company offers to help manage the migration process. In the middle of this episode, you'll even get a clear summary of what a successful rollout to PQC looks like. Find out actionable PQC steps you can take today in this episode of the Post-Quantum World. I'm your host, Konstantinos Karagiannis. I lead quantum computing services at Protiviti, where we're helping companies prepare for the benefits and threats of this exploding field. I hope you'll join each episode as we explore the technology and business impacts of this post-quantum era. Our guest today is the Senior Director of Product Management at DigiCert, Kevin Hilscher. Welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Yeah, DigiCert's a name that people probably recognize. And if they listen to this show and understand the post-quantum threat, they're probably thinking, oh, I get why DigiCert might be on. But just in case they don't know, I guess let's start with kind of an exciting announcement and around the time that we're recording this of what's happening, what's new. So we're talking really about DigiCert One to get rolling, right?
Yeah, so DigiCert One is our platform where we offer a number of solutions globally to customers from private PKI services, discovery, post-quantum. Our platform is enabled for that, of course. Device management solutions, software code signing solutions. So we have a full range, and we just actually integrated through an acquisition of Vicara, a DNS into the platform, because DNS and certificates are really tied together like a hand in glove.
We can get down into the nitty-gritty. There's all sorts of things related to even newer, I guess, types of certificates and time limitations on them and all that.
Yeah, lots going on.
Yeah, lots going on, and we could dig in. So for those who listen here, obviously the first concern is, what does this mean to me in this post-quantum world we're entering? And I guess if you want to give us some of the features that make it stand out as enabling everyone's journey that's beginning to PQC.
There's a handful of things that we're working on with our customers that they can start on now. First thing is we're doing a lot of evangelism. Like, people don't realize the amount of effort that will go into this post-quantum upgrade around enterprise assets, enterprise software, the Internet of Things. The Internet itself is going to be basically upgraded. And so TLS 1.3 is one of the things that we're encouraging all our customers to update to, right? The IETF has come out and said, hey, PQC is not going to be supported on TLS 1.2 or anything below that even. So easy thing that customers can start on, and we've done it ourselves at DigiCert, is made sure everything's TLS 1.3. Even as the NIST standards were evolving over the last few years, and finally were ratified last fall, approved, you could have still moved up to TLS 1.3. So that was an easy thing to start on. And then, in DigiCert, we've been embedding all the new NIST-approved algorithms, so ML-KEM, ML-DSA, Sphinx Plus, into our platform, our device tools for IoT builders, our SDKs. So we've been kind of keeping lockstep with the NIST FIPS statuses, right, as they've been approved. And then we've also been allowing customers to experiment with these new algorithms and certificates. So we have some open source tooling. We have in our platform the ability just to go and get some free certificates in our labs.digicert.com playground. And so they can play with these new certificates because there's all sorts of choices and trade-offs around these new algorithms and specifically the certificates that support signing there. So we've been kind of staying abreast of all the things going on and keeping the platform up to date. And of course, when NIST made ML-DSA a FIPS, assigned FIPS status to it, we updated our SDKs and everything to make sure that we were in lockstep with that.
These are good points. And a lot of people are focused on ML-KEM. right? Because
They are.
when you think about the quantum threat, you think about someone's reading my information, right? That's what everyone thinks about. People are harvesting my information, people getting ready to like reverse, whatever state secrets and things like that.
Yeah.
So we've talked about ML-KEM plenty, but ML-DSA doesn't really get very much love in general. People don't even talk about it. So
Yes.
if I may put this burden on you for a moment, could you kind of explain to people who don't give any love to signatures? If you could just explain to them a little bit about like the high level of whether it's post-quantum or not, just what we're talking about here in case they're not really giving it weight.
So I always kind of think about it in a TLS handshake scenario. The first few packets of a TLS 1.3 handshake are really about establishing that shared key, right? And that's where ML-KEM comes in, or hybrid key exchange, right? Diffie-Hellman, ML-KEM. So that's part of the first thing. You and I agree on a shared secret key to communicate with and encrypt our channel, right? The second thing that happens in a TLS handshake is, Konstantinos, do I believe you are who you are, right? And do you believe I am who I am? So the trust in these endpoints. And that is done through the exchange of digital certificates, X509 certificates, which are signed through generally a chain of trust that comes up to a root like DigiCert. So those signatures have historically been RSA or ECC, right? So the signature on that certificate, just like your driver's license, is signed. So that is now being replaced by this new generation of quantum safe digital signature algorithms. And the first one kind of get out of the gate that's being pretty much promoted everywhere is ML-DSA. So this is largely a drop-in replacement for RSA or ECC, but it's not the same. It's got some performance it's actually faster than RSA in terms of key generation. It's way faster, but it's got a very large signature size, public key size, and private key size. So the certificates themselves are going to get bigger, and so that's a challenge for certain ecosystems like IoT and small embedded IoT devices, very limited memory, like on a microcontroller. This is going to be a challenge. So ML-DSA is kind of the first one that everyone's talking about. There's also SLH-DSA. So Sphinx Plus is also referred to it. So that one is a hash-based as opposed to a module lattice-based math. So SLH is hash-based math. It is significantly slower. So it's a slower, often some folks refer to it as a backup to ML-DSA. So the industry is really coalescing right now, especially in the US, around going forward with ML-DSA for digital signatures of X509 certificates.
That was very beautifully said, I have to say. That was a whole lot of detail crammed into one answer. I love that. And we always talk about how out of the gate it is ML-KEM and ML-DSA. So it's like lattices for the win right now. And that you did a great job explaining why there are benefits to it. So I guess one follow-up immediately, just while we have it here, is when you are dealing with devices that are small and resource constrained, what's your plan going forward to make sure that whole ecosystem doesn't just crumble in a few years?
Yeah, so there's no easy answers on the really, really small devices. And there's trade-offs. Some devices will have enough memory to handle these certificates because they are larger, but they won't be able to process, do the key sign or the verification really quickly. So there's trade-offs. So in some cases, some IoT devices might be a better fit to run or utilize Sphinx Plus. So the key sizes are smaller, but it's really slow. Okay. But maybe in an IoT device scenario where it's sending telemetry like twice a day, it wakes up, it's a battery device. Maybe that's okay, right? So there are some nuances when we talk IoT and these new algorithms, but it's kind of a set of painful choices in some cases. For in more enterprise type of IoT devices like cameras that sit outside of commercial buildings or storage appliances, they've got lots of headroom typically for these new algorithms, so they're not really worried from the size of the certificate. They're still worried from a performance perspective, but it's like I said, for ML-DSA, for example, it's way faster than RSA. So you're going to get a net benefit there right away.
And because we're talking about a migration timeline, for better or worse, of 10 years roughly, is some of this going to go away when we consider hardware of tomorrow, right? Like if you're starting your migration, you're thinking 2035 is a drop dead. Maybe I don't want to run a IoT device from 2023 or 2020 in 2035. Like, do you think that should just be one of the checkboxes? Like, will this be end of life then replaced? You know?
Yeah. There's going to be certain devices where it's just going to be so much. It's going to be too painful, too costly to upgrade them in any way, shape, or form, or if just the physics won't even allow for it. I was talking to a customer recently, and on their IoT devices, they have a TPM chip, a TPM2. The TPM standard run by the TSG, Trusted Computing Group, that standard has yet no support for ML-KEM or ML-DSA or any of the new algorithms. Even if it did, there's still debate whether the actual chip can be firmware updated or the actual TPM needs to be ripped out and put a new one in. Mm-hmm. And then in that case, you might as well just retire the product line. It's not like you can recall these devices, bring them home, put a new chip in, or to ask the customer to do that. It's just not tenable, right? So to your point, Konstantinos, absolutely. I think there's going to be a class of devices where they're just going to get deprecated.
Yeah. We're about to have that happen in October. It's called you can't run Windows 10 anymore.
Exactly.
So you're going to have to become a Chromebook or a Linux machine or a doorstop. Something totally. About that. Totally. Yeah. So at least we are prepared. We're prepared for this kind of thing to occur.
Yeah.
So I thought it would be fun to consider what you guys do and consider what a migration path looks like for a typical company. So let's walk through some of like the major steps that all companies are going to have to do to migrate to PQC and how DigiCert can help with some of them. And maybe not all of them, but if you want to walk me through some of that might be fun.
Yeah, and migration is going to be a team sport. If one company tells you, hey, we can do it all, you got to look a little deeper. But basically there's about 6 steps that we kind of see happening. First is discovery, right? So, and there's lots of talk about it. You got to discover your crypto assets, and there's tools to do it. DigiCert offers a solution called Trust Lifecycle Manager that does that. And we'll look at, the traffic that's going on in your network. Is it TLS 1.3? Are the new algorithms being used in the certificates that are floating around across this traffic, right? Or how much RSA and ECC is still being used? Are you using ML-KEM now, or straight up just Diffie-Hellman, right? So you need to do this discovery of what's going on and your endpoints. You can use your CMDB. Most organizations have some sort of configuration management database as well, where some of this information might reside. And then there's CBOM and SBOM tools, right? So if you're an organization, every organization is a software company, as they say, right? So even if you're an traditional oil and gas, there might be 10% of the apps that you've written yourself, right? Integration apps. And you have those in repos, that code. You need to scan it, and there's lots of great tools. IBM's got the CBOM kit, which will generate crypto bill of materials for it and show where you're using weak crypto, non-quantum safe crypto, and where you should update it. And so discovery is a big thing. Then you know how big the problem is. And and which vendors you need to talk to as well, because you're going to have a lot of painful discussions with your vendors. And then step 2 is what we're saying is pick one app. Pick a small app and go through a phase of, let's say it's a third-party app. Talk to that third-party vendor. Ask them the questions. What's your roadmap for TLS 1.3, ML-KEM, ML-DSA, and whatever else you need to know, right? Are you going to give me a software update? When, right? So have those conversations. If it's a custom app, then you got to look into your internal teams who wrote it. And then step 3 is really build a checklist that you can start developing and asking these questions of these vendors or your internals, right? Your internal teams. And then eventually you'll have to be, for an app, you'll face a decision point. Do I replace, upgrade, or retire it, right? Windows 10, you brought up Windows 10. Well, some of those laptops or desktops will go away, right? They'll be deprecated. you'll need to be at Windows 11. Microsoft has started adding PQC support to Windows 11. So
Yep,
either
that's
you're going to
pretty cool,
go
yeah.
from 10 to 11, or you're going to maybe do something else, right? So you need to understand whether you're going to upgrade. You may retire an app. Maybe you were planning to retire it anyways, and now you're like, it's not worth us upgrading. And then you're going to test and measure. So as you start upgrading things, those same discovery tools that told you how big the problem is, you should start rerunning those and seeing the size of the problem coming down. Less TLS 1.2 and 1.1 usage, more TLS 1.3 usage, right? Less RSA usage, more ML-DSA usage, et cetera, et cetera. So you start to measure so you can report up to your leadership and executives. And then you're going to rinse and repeat. You're going to do that for one app, then you're going to try another app, and you're going to refine those checklists. We always say, don't start with SAP. Like, pick a small app,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, it's a monster.
Pick something that you can, pilot this on. And you may have to ask for more budget as well, right? Because once you do discovery, then you're like, oh my gosh, like this is a much bigger problem here. And I'm beholden to these other vendors, and they're going to force me to upgrade their apps, and they're going to charge me for it. So it's going to be an iterative process. So those kind of the 6 steps that we see typically that organizations will go through.
Yeah, no, that's terrific. And funny thing about SAP, most people don't know this, but until just relatively few years ago, almost all SAP traffic was unencrypted. Like almost everything.
Wow.
It was kind of wild. Like into the 2000s.
Oh wow.
Yeah, you can run tools that would let you capture packets, and then it was like obfuscation. You had to understand the protocol, but I think the BAP protocol. But once you got through that, you were able to actually see all the commands being issued and modify them. So that was kind of funny.
Wow.
So yeah, and I bring up the Microsoft example. Microsoft's a huge company, and people talk about Microsoft, but I bring it up for a reason. Like Microsoft does a lot of great stuff in quantum and post quantum. But when I bring up Windows 10, I bring it up because it's an exact microcosm of this. It's something that's been around. Mm-hmm. A lot of people use. Eventually, everything has to go away, and we're seeing an example of how people deal with it now. Like you decide, you get rid of hardware. Do you run something else? Do you so it's a pretty great example. I like it, and the fact that Windows 11 then comes out strong with PQC support. That's pretty cool stuff right there.
Yeah, exactly.
So how do you feel about like the library side of things? Like most people don't really talk about this. I don't know if there's anything at DigiCert directly that would help, but as part of that journey you were talking about, there's of course that dreaded library side, right?
Yeah.
Like, great, we have TLS 1.3. People literally tell me, I have TLS 1.3. Does this mean I'm post-quantum ready? And I'm like, you're post-quantum on the go. You're post-quantum, adjacent. Like, but it doesn't actually mean anything is happening, right? Nothing is actually happening. So how do you feel about that? Like, what can you recommend for people? Obviously OpenSSL 3.5 is a good one, right?
Absolutely. They just added support, as you know, and about a month and a half ago, released 3.5. At DigiCert, we have a C-based SDK called TrustCore, which has a TLS 1.3 stack and has all the new algorithms in it. It's been out for many, many years. We added support for the algorithms ML-DSA, ML-KEM, Spinix Plus last fall. So we've had it out, but you're right. Like customers need to, as part of that crypto bill of materials and SBOM work, they need to look at what SDKs, and that's actually a good hint. Like if you're scanning your source code repos and you're a SaaS company, you make software, you're right. TLS 1.3, your Kubernetes environment might already be running TLS 1.3. Okay, fine. But your apps on Kubernetes, what are they doing? So you're looking at your repos. And what you can do with CBOM and SBOM is you can take little hints. Like, anything less than OpenSSL 3.5 didn't support PQC without Open Quantum Safe. So you can already kind of deduce, is my app sort of quantum safe ready? And then you still have to actually look into the code. Like, are you still actually making calls down to RSA functions, right? Or are you calling some of these new functions and replacing them with, ML-DSA, for example? And then you got to make sure the marriage between TLS and your crypto library is working. So, the fact that when a device TLS handshakes with a server endpoint, you got to make sure that ML-KEM and ultimately ML-DSA are actually working and being negotiated. And that might be some Wireshark. And actually, we put together a bit of a demo, and we actually released the demo on our docs site at DigiCert on how customers can actually do a Wireshark and actually look into Wireshark to see, is ML-KEM or hybrid KEM actually going across the wire, and ML-DSA. You think you've got it plumbed in, but is it actually happening? And so we built a bit of a demo with Wireshark and showed customers where to go look in the packets to make sure it's actually negotiating and handshaking.
Oh, that's so useful. I mean, for as these migration pathways go, is like a little extra check, a little like fail-safe check, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. Is this really occurring?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's a lot of times where I suspect that's going to break. We've had all sorts of like renegotiation problems in the past, and I could see that happening again in the future. How do you feel about hybrid solutions?
So let me ask you back. Because this is a source of confusion, are you talking about hybrid key exchange or hybrid certificates?
Actually, I'd like to know your thoughts on both, really.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. I actually would. Yeah, because I was going to ask you about both, so that sounds good.
Yeah, so hybrid key exchange or hybrid KEM, that is what's happening now, right? So we're replacing traditional ECDH with hybrid KEM. So that's happening now, and that's what's going to prevent this harvest now, decrypt later type of scenario. But the keyword of hybrid is often confused, and then when we talk certificates, we have this thing called hybrid certs. Okay, of which composite is a type of hybrid, and there's a few others out there. Effectively, what it means is you're taking a digital signature algorithm like RSA, and you're basically applying RSA, signing with RSA, and signing with ML-DSA. Okay, you're kind of double signing a certificate. And there's like I said, there's three kind of standards out there. They are not anywhere near done. So when people come to us and say, hey, should I go hybrid? First of all, let's talk about hybrid KEM versus hybrid certs. They're totally different. They share the word hybrid, okay? Hybrid KEM, do it now. Hybrid certificates, we've been cautioning because the standards there's three competing standards. There's no clear winner yet. The RFCs are far from being done on those. They're still in early draft. We're like, stay away from hybrid certs because we don't know which is going to be the winner. Just go with ML-DSA, pure PQC signed certificates, ML-DSA or Sphinx Plus if you need to. That's been kind of our counsel to customers.
Okay, so you do want to just go straight right in.
Yeah, because you'll avoid the double migration. Ultimately, the world will be at pure ML-DSA or Sphinx Plus, like a pure PQC. There are schools of thought, specifically out of Europe, like BSI, is saying, hey, there's maybe a good approach to consider going hybrid first until ML-DSA is kind of like really battle tested, right? Like RSA. Yeah. And ANSI in France has had similar. NIST has been more, no, you can probably go more to pure PQC, like pure ML-DSA, but there's nothing wrong if you want to try hybrid. They haven't said no, hybrid is bad, but definitely out of Europe, the advice from the regulators have been like, maybe try hybrid more. But again, the challenge there is the standards aren't baked at all, and there's kind of three competing standards. So for now, if you're comfortable, especially on private PKI scenarios, private CA scenarios, we're saying just go ML-DSA, and then it'll avoid the double migration and later on potentially.
So a lot of companies are looking to remove some of these headaches by migrating more workloads to the cloud, right? Make it somebody else's problem. And in fact, there's probably never been an easier time, right, to sell cloud services. It's like, you don't want to deal with this. Move everything to the cloud. Awesome.
Yeah.
And of course, we all know AWS had their hybrid first, and I'm sure Azure is going to be doing everything post-quantum it can. Like, why wouldn't they? And Google too. So the big ones are going to be doing this. Do you have any insight? Do they like work with you guys at all? Do you have any insight to what they're doing that puts some like reality to this, like for how quickly this will help benefit people?
Yeah, definitely Google has been leading this for a number of years. In fact, they were the first to kind of like break or find the challenges around hybrid KEM. I don't know if you remember the story. In Chrome, you could enable KEM as a option,
Yep.
and it broke the TLS client hello because it spanned 2 packets, and a lot of routers and switches on the internet have never been tested in that. So
I guess it was technically Kyber at the time, right? But
yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
So
I remember.
Google's been all that on the forefront there. They've been doing lots of R&D and publishing their results. Cloudflare has been great as well, posting TLS 1.3 data and the usage and the overhead. Relative to like
1% are using it right or whatever. It's like,
yes,
it's like
exactly.
Crazy how a few people,
So it's like I said, it's a team sport, right? For getting our customers to PQC readiness. In terms of AWS, we work closely with them. I can't speak to exactly what we do, but we background some of their services, and they've been moving service by service. Same thing with Azure. We background some of their stuff. And they move different services, each product, the Azure services, there's over 100 of them. Unfortunately, some are still even stuck at TLS 1.2. So there's certain services, they need to get up to TLS 1.3 first. Then they got to obviously support the new algorithms. So it's going to be more of a service by service at the hyperscaler level. So if let's say you're using S3, Amazon S3, you got to go look at S3 and ask the S3 team, like, what's your roadmap? Going to Amazon, account rep, they may not have that answer, and they don't even sometimes know what you're talking about, right? So when you talk PQC, it's try to get to the product teams that own that service, because they'll be able to give you the definitive answer. Yes, we're going to go to TLS 1.3 in 6 months. After that, we'll support ML-KEM, ML-DSA, in Q2 next year or something like that. So it's really a service by service journey for the hyperscalers, and they got a lot of work to do, obviously.
But ultimately, I'm sure you agree that you're not going to be able to go wrong with the cloud one day, right? I mean, when it comes to this,
absolutely, yeah. And a lot of customers run even our DigiCert One platform. It's available on both marketplaces, Amazon and Azure, right? So the hyperscalers are all over this. They are absolutely. It's just a big chunk of work, and they got to balance it with feature work. Like, customers are asking for new stuff, so it's like a trade-off. Do I focus on this plumbing? Upgrading the plumbing, so to speak, or do I focus on delighting my customers with new features in these services? So it's a trade-off, and we do the same at DigiCert, but obviously we skew more to we got to fix the plumbing and get that ready sooner.
Yeah, so whoever your provider of choice is, whatever shop you are, if you're a Microsoft shop, AWS, whatever, these are conversations you have to start having.
Yeah.
To understand what they're providing you.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And our caution to customers too is, if you're calling in your Microsoft account rep and asking them these questions, you may get a bit of a deer in the headlight look from them. So we actually have to educate a lot of people as we have these conversations. It's just like if you were to call, the SAP account team, if you're an enterprise customer, and ask them for their roadmap for PQC, you might get some like odd responses like, what are you talking about? I don't know. Right? So there's an education piece that everyone has to be involved with.
And now Microsoft went big on that too by making this the quantum ready kind of year, right? That's like a whole big push they have. So
right.
So I think reps should at least read that. No. It's like Microsoft's making some great noise in the space, so Indeed. They should definitely pay attention. I love that. And I wanted to ask you, what about what's coming next? Like we still have potentially, I guess HQC next year will be another, I guess next year, and then the year after, hopefully it'll be standardized. And then we're going to get at least one more signature next year, maybe, right? At least one more. So, and have you been doing any testing with like new signatures or anything like that, just for like the future horizon?
Yeah, we've been testing internally on our Trust Core SDK on some of these new ones. We haven't tested HQC yet, so I don't have any data on that one. But that one's definitely on our roadmap to embed into our SDK. The other one that's coming, it's mostly in Europe, but Classic Mechales is getting a lot of traction. BSI is very bullish on Classic Mechales, so we're going to see what happens there. I mean, it didn't make it through all the NIST rounds thus far, but it may still. Like, NIST may take it up at some point in a subsequent round. So that's another one.
Ancient. Classic Mechales is so old.
Yeah.
If you're not comfortable with it's like tried and trueness, but now I don't know.
Yeah. So there's that. And then the big thing is like FIPS certification. So a lot of algorithms need when the crypto is applied with hardware, you need to go through FIPS 140-3 certification, right? Which is a prerequisite to selling to a lot of Gov 3-letter agencies, right? Is FIPS 140-3. So what the big push is with hardware HSM vendors and DigiCert and others is, let's take the new algorithms that have been stuck into our SDKs and updated. Let's combine it with some hardware, and let's go through the FIPS certification, FIPS 140-3 process with NIST. So that's the big thing as well that's happening in the background. So it's a lot of work. So we have to temper like playing with all these fun algorithms. We have a couple cryptographers at DigiCert that are playing on the kind of the newer algorithms, and we're planning to add kind of the bleeding edge algorithms to our labs.digicert.com. That's part of our roadmap coming up here. So customers that want to play with some of the not yet NIST standardized or BSI standardized algorithms can go there and kick the tires a little bit, because we understand that customers, will need to have that data to make decisions on which was appropriate for their use case.
Great. Yeah, we'll put that link in the show notes. So if people want to try this out, they should go to labs.digicert.
Labs.digicert.com. Yeah. And then we're updating, like I said, over the coming months, we're going to add support for some of these other algorithms that aren't, fully approved yet. We'll announce which ones next that are coming next soon, but we're going to have a chance for customers to go and play with, outside of ML-KEM, ML-DSA, et cetera, some of these other ones that we've talked about.
Sounds good. And I'm also going to just put a link to your main site, because I'm assuming you have numerous types of demos and things that you could do.
We do. Yeah. We have a ton of material on post-quantum and our readiness throughout the product, DigiCert One, and our platforms and solutions. So yeah, come visit us.
Great. Yeah. So on that call to action, I will thank you very much for joining me. I really enjoyed our chat. And again, super clear answers. I really appreciate that always. So thank you.
No worries. Thanks for having me.
That does it for this episode. Thanks to Kevin Hilscher for joining to discuss DigiCert. And thank you for listening. If you enjoyed the show, please subscribe to Protiviti's The Post-Quantum World, and maybe leave a review to help others find us. Be sure to follow me on all socials at Constant Hacker. That's Constant with a K, Hacker. You'll find links there to what we're doing in quantum computing services at Protiviti. You can also DM me questions or suggestions for what you'd like to hear on the show. For more information on our quantum services, check out Protiviti.com or follow Protiviti Tech on X and LinkedIn. Until next time, be kind and stay quantum curious.